Thinking Basketball Podcast. My name is Ben. Welcome to the 25 Best Players Under 25 annual draft that has never, ever, ever caused any commotion or controversy or strong feelings. And Cody asked me, Cody said, do you want to do this episode again this year? Because are you done ranking things? And I said, I'm probably done ranking things. But if we just do a draft and have a lot of conversation and fun times, then I can let this through my filter. And here we are, my friend, back again for the fourth time? I lost track. The fifth time. Every year it gets wilder and wilder.
I think the best part about this year is the level of fast and loose we're playing with it this year. We never talked about any of the parameters. Like, we set up the age and we're like, all right, we're going to set it at this date. Now is it. There have been no rules. There have been no talks about injuries. There have been no talks about anything. So I think this is a lot of just, let's talk about some of these guys that we're really excited about. And of course we have to have some kind of ranking about it, because then why would a podcast exist?
Yeah, they can't exist without rankings. Just to be clear, because this would be a curveball for me, we're talking about how the players are playing right now in this season, right? We're not projecting out for the rest of their career.
Well, okay, so I guess it's like you take in a little bit from what you've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. You take in what you're seeing this year, and then I think we're also projecting, like, if this was a playoff series, right? Like, we're kind of imagining
this year. Yes, like within the year, though. I'm saying we're not talking about age 27 Derek Queen or something like that.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. Make sure we're on the same page.
Is that a good player, Derek Queen? Is that somebody I should have thought about?
I think they call him the DQ, and I have no idea what they call him. All right. You have to flip a coin to figure out if we're drafting first or second. Yeah.
If they called him DQ, they should just call him Big Ice Cream. Like, that's I don't know if that has any relevancy, but he
plays in. Is there a Big Easy? Is there a basketball player named Big Easy?
There has to be.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know. It's a city. There's no Knicks player named the Big Apple.
I went to his basketball reference page.
This is what people are here for.
And one of his only nickname listed is Baby Jokic. I'm like, can we just stop with that? Like, how many big men that pass the ball to cutters is called Baby Jokic? So let's stop it right now.
Is this going to be like the next Jordan? You know, the next Jordan, the search for the next Jordan went on for like 10 or 15 years, which actually, now that I say it, reminds me of like searching for Bobby Fischer, which is a great chess movie about chess prodigy Josh Waitzkin back in the day. Cody, you're not into the chess?
I mean, I was into the Queen's Gambit, right? Was that Anya Taylor-Joy, kind of her explosion?
Of course,
on the scene?
Incredible.
That was a spectacular show. But that's about I've played some chess in my day, but I'm out of practice now. We need to stop this, and we need to get going right here. What I have in front of me is a digital coin flipper, because we're in the 21st century right now. And just for all the stat heads out there, you can decide if this is relevant or not. When I clicked on it, it automatically flipped, so it's at heads already. So we're going knowing that the first flip is heads. So, Ben, with that information, someone's going to be in the comments, it doesn't actually matter, Cody.
It doesn't. It literally doesn't matter. Yeah.
Do you want heads or tails?
So I get to call it, and then you're flipping it, and we trust your flip. And I would like to add a rule this year. I would like to add the rule that whoever wins the toss can go first or second.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I'm going to call heads again, just because of your whole spiel about heads.
Okay. I'm clicking flip again. It's spinning, and it landed on tails.
Okay. So would you like to go first or second?
No, I want you to go first.
Okay. Well, thank you, my friend. I'm going to take Victor Wembanyama as the best player under 25. Oh, we do have to set that one parameter that this is not, because we record this on a different date every year, and Basketball Reference has February 1st as a player's quote unquote age season, like their 25-year-old season. We use February 1st of 2026. So if you're going to be 26 on if you're going to be 25 on February 1st, 2026, you do not qualify, right?
Yeah, I think if I remember, Isaac Okoro is the last guy out,
yes.
And Trey Mann will be the oldest person available.
Exactly. Yep. So Trey Mann and younger is our draft pool today, and Victor Wembanyama, he's not even 22, so I will take him numero uno as the best player under 25, because it's easy when you have an MVP candidate right there. Cody, he's mine. He's on my team. My team's already better than yours. You're up.
Did you watch the Thunder Spurs game?
The Thunder Spurs game, is that the semifinals of the NBA Cup?
Yep, that was that one.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was an incredible game. And I think the thing about Wemby is just when you think about players that bend what the other team has to do, you can just see how much they have to try out there. Like J-Dub starts on him, Caruso goes on him. You see every time they go down, everyone's just ball targeting. Like, don't you dare let them get the ball above the square, because at that point we're just lost. So it was cool strategically to see how they could handle it. They gave Dort had the opportunity for like one of the blocks of the year where he meets Wemby like right before he takes off to knock it away. Really fascinating stuff. That was a wonderful game, except for the last 10 seconds, which took forever. But beyond that, it was a wonderful game.
Was that one of those games where the last 10 seconds took 10 minutes? Kind of like the game the other night where the last 17 seconds took 17 minutes?
Yes. And I think there was a Celtics-Pistons game in November where the last 10 seconds took 13 minutes. I clocked it as. That's an issue, Ben.
Do you think this is something that the league should try to fix, Cody? Have you moved into that headspace with everyone else?
If I was 100% like in charge unilaterally to do stuff, I would 100% do something about it. I would probably try and do something to ban fouling up at the end, right? Like strategically, I just know that makes sense, and everyone's a genius that does it, blah, 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 blah. But it takes away just like the flow of the game. And when it becomes a tight game, I actually wish that games won't be tight, because it just turns into a free throw contest. And that's what nobody wants to see at the end of an excellent basketball game. So I think we need to do something about it.
Okay. Your homework for next week is to come up with a solution, and we'll talk about it, because I think I've finally moved to that space as well.
Okay, good. I'll remember that.
Before we move off Victor Wembanyama, Victor, you said something interesting. Victor Wembanyama played in the last game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so can we do Wemby Watch again?
Oh, we can do Wemby Watch.
That's right. We're back on Wemby Watch. Wemby has sat for almost 800 minutes this year, so we're getting a nice little sample. When he's on the court, the Spurs defense is 12 points better per 100 possessions than when he's off the court. That would basically be first all time in the play-by-play era. So the Wemby Watch is live, and it's back, and it's going as strong as ever, my friend.
And I see he also had a block in that game. So I don't remember what the streak is at. It's got to be closing in on 100 for the number of blocks he's had in a row. So a couple of Wemby watches.
That was such a great game back, because he played 20 minutes. He had over 20 points. I think the Spurs were plus 20 without him and minus 20 without him and plus 20 with him. It was a 20-20-20-20 game.
Yeah, I think that's the real 20-20-20 game, is when you had plus minus for a single game.
Exactly. We've stalled long enough. It's your pick at number 2.
So the actual reason I gave you number 1 is because I didn't know what to do at number 3. And I wanted to get off the third pick as much as possible, because I feel very confident about my second pick in this draft. And all of a sudden, for some reason, I'm terrified that this person is totally not. He works. For number 2, I'm taking Cade Cunningham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. He has blossomed, right? I think we started seeing it a little bit more at the end of last year, but I think we talked about it a little bit. The passing game has leveled up another inch or so here. It's not just the pick and roll maestro. It's not just the on ball, I'm going to kind of Chris Paul this and control every possession. It's the, kick ahead passes. It's the extra passing. It's the kind of setting everyone up so things move smoothly. Going back to our 25 peak series, very Jason Kidd-esque at times with his passing, and that just opens the door so much. So, some of my concerns about his scoring are still there, which hold him back from being like, an MVP level player. But he's an efficient enough scorer with the passing that I think the offense, he's probably pretty easily the best offensive player in this draft available. And defensively, I don't think he's a negative. And in fact, he's probably at least a little bit of a positive. So when you have both of those going those directions, Cade to me is the second best player in this draft for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a positive defensively. I think he's had some really good defensive stretches, very physical, uses his size very well. So yeah, I agree with everything you just said there. Some interesting stuff with Cade is that if you look at his, the raw numbers compared to last year, his time of possession is down. His offensive load is down. Technically, his scoring and efficiency are just below where he was last season. His mid-range shooting numbers are down. His drives are down. His drives efficiency is down. Everything looks like it's down, but A, you have a little bit of a small sample against maybe some good opponents, and B, this is just where this holistic nature of the game to me feels better. He feels stronger. He feels more in control. He had a beautiful mid-range sort of setup fade clinching shot against the Celtics the other night that was just gorgeous. So the raw numbers sometimes can steer you in the wrong direction or miss a kind of improvement, like the continuous improvement we've seen from Cade. More experience, I think, has really helped him. And yeah, he would have been my number 2 as well. It's a beautiful pick, Cody. Did a great job there.
Thank you. I would love to see him next to another player that has a little bit more offensive juice. I know we've talked about that with like Jaden Ivey. People are always like, oh, what happens when he comes back? And just, because of injury and whatever else, we just haven't seen that quite blossom yet. But I would love to see how we would coexist next to somebody, because I think he would even thrive next to somebody else that's a little bit ball dominant.
You mentioned our 21st Century Peak series over the summer. Maybe my favorite podcasting thing we've ever done on Thinking Basketball here. And he was one of the players coming out of that series, maybe along with Devin Booker, that when we talked about some of these big concept signals on how you impact your team, you mentioned Jason Kidd. Cade was a winner for me. Cade was a winner for me, and Devin Booker was a winner for me. And again, it's like, well, what about the efficiency? Could he be more efficient? Sure, but really, when you're able to help your team and create that rim pressure and have that mid-range sort of change-up set of pitches that he can throw, command offense, get into the paint, that is so much more valuable than maybe a couple extra shots here and there. So I have a question for you about Cade before we move off him. Yeah. Does it give you any pause that as we've seen him really blossom and kind of explode as a player, take on this role with a very good Detroit team? Last year, they had a great second and third trimester of the year, playoff bound, good series against the Knicks. This year, they're steamrolling out in front in first place. Does it give you any pause that his plus minus signals aren't huge yet? They're actually not that strong, but they're not bad. They're just kind of okay.
Isn't it pretty strong this year? I thought he had a pretty strong signal, like nearing a plus 10 when he's on, nearing a plus 10 on off. I think in the past, we haven't seen like great signals from him over the course of a few years, but this year is definitely the best that we have seen. And I think that makes a lot of sense when you see the Pistons dominating with their defense and not having a lot of offensive talent. So I think that's a cool swing. I do think that's an interesting question in terms of there are going to be some big names that are going to come up here that actually have relatively weak signals based on what I would expect. So I'm going to kind of put a pin in this because it's going to come up for maybe 3 or 4 different guys that I would expect to see a juicier number for.
Good. I was quizzing you. I was just tricking you to see if you knew that. Yeah, no, his plus minus signals are turning upward this year, which is always something that's nice to see, because in general, you want that trend of like, yeah, who cares if it's not whatever the actual number is, but you get uncomfortable, as we'll talk about with some other players, when over multiple seasons, your mediocre team isn't much better when you're on the bench for long periods of time. That's a little harder to explain. 100%. All right. Is it now my pick with this number 3 slot that you were avoiding with cowardice?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. I will then take, and I know why you're doing this. I know exactly why you're doing this. And I had the exact same internal conundrum, but unlike you, Cody, I think I've reached an age where I just don't care. Okay. I'm going to take Alperen Sengun third.
Oh, I love this pick.
Yeah.
I was wondering where Sengun was going to go because, again, like I was talking about with Cade, here's another guy that has really like blossomed offensively. And you get Kevin Durant coming to the team, and there are games when Sengun's not playing for the Rockets. I mean, when Sengun's not playing, and they kind of look lost. They look like he's such an organizer for his offense, for their offense back.
Yep, I think that's the biggest thing. I think I'm at a point where you mentioned that Cade is the best player in this draft offensively. I think I agree, but there are a couple players that contest that, and Alpi might be one of them in the sense that we already referenced a Baby Jokic joke. He's sort of the original Baby Jokic moniker. And I called him Bizarro Jokic a couple years ago. But when we did that deep dive, one of the things that jumped out was a young Houston team. When they ran the offense through these Sengun sets, it was very efficient. And we continue to see that over the last few years. We see it this year where they don't have Fred VanVleet. They don't have the traditional point guard. It's like, yeah, but if you kind of play this elbow, middle of the court, handoff, hit cutters, back down, floaters, spins, post-ups, you play this offense through Alperen Sengun, it's actually a pretty good baseline for an offense when you're a great passer, you're efficient, You kind of create matchup problems. And then the thing for Sengun with me, Cody, he's just been able to hold his own defensively and use some of that length and some of that surprise athleticism we've talked about in the past to kind of be a solid defender and kind of just a grimy, nasty Houston team. You know you're going to get in the playoffs and have a lot of fun with that. So he's right here for me. There was obviously another player or two that I considered, but I will take Alperen Sengun. So now I have Victor Wembanyama and Alperen Sengun, and you only have Cade Cunningham. Who would you like to add to your team?
I think we're great. We're good to go right now. We're not trying to build a coherent team right now, right?
We're not? That's not a side bonus project that the fans are going to vote on after to see who has the better team?
You know, if that was the case, I probably should have just stuck with number one and put my cowardice aside. But whatever, we make decisions, Ben, and we have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, actually, in the vein of what you asked with Cade, because there's almost like a 2024-ish Boston Celtics-y on-off conundrum going on with the Rockets, where the offense is basically unchanged when Sengun is on the court versus off, and their defense is definitely worse when he is on the court versus off. And you kind of see this same kind of signal with like Kevin Durant, like their offense is kind of unchanged depending on whether or not he's on. So I don't know if the on-off signal here with Sengun is just like, this is just a good deep team that's well coached and they're kind of just functional in a lot of different ways, or if you think there's something deeper going on.
I still kind of think it's a small sample. So in his case, he had really nice on-off numbers last year on a playoff team, and 1 year is a small sample. So I kind of fold it all together. And when you average the last 2 years, when you take 80 games from last year and 20 whatever games from this year, we're still doing okay, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have the fourth pick, huh?
Is that what's happening right now? You're forced to take the fourth pick, and I've sort of ponged it back to you, and you're feeling the fire. You're on the hot seat.
I kind of thought you were going to take someone else.
Of course you did.
And I'm going to actually leave that person on the board right now.
This is just every
and
year.
then you can just take that player. I'm going to take this guy.
This guy has been under 25 every year we've done this, and this happens every year. Yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if that's the case. You know what? I'm going to do it. Am I going to do it? I'm taking Anthony Edwards. I'm going to do Anthony Edwards at 4.
You finally did it. Congratulations.
Yeah, I did.
I'm proud of you.
At the end of the day, the issue that I feel for Anthony Edwards, I genuinely do, because we've been over here pounding the table for years, being like, get this team a point guard, get this team a functional player that's going to set the stage for everyone, make sure everyone's getting fed, can handle all of the on-ball pressure. And they're like, oh, Mike Conley's great. And it's like, yep, he was a decade ago. And here we are with them trying to be like, oh, cool, Bones Highland, you're going to get the minutes over Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham, we're not really sure this is going to work out. Anthony Edwards, you're the point guard now, right? And that's just so out of position for him. He does a good enough job handling, and he's strong enough that he can take some of that pressure, but I kind of just feel like he's playing a little out of position in this case. So I almost use that all to look at some of his numbers and take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, we're talking about an extremely strong driver that when he puts his head down, he gets to the paint and can finish through contact, can make pretty simple reads when people bend in towards him. The three-point shot seems very real, especially off the bounce quite a bit more. And defensively, he can go one-on-one. We don't necessarily have to talk about some of the off-ball woes and positioning and things like that, but he's like we've talked about before, a great slap the court and shut down a guy once in a while sort of defender. And you take that all into account with the playoff success, to me, it's a solid 4 pick.
I agree. It is also very tricky, though. And this is the player I was alluding to earlier. Just the impact signals. It would be one thing, Cody, to have impact signals that were just like a little concerning. But when you add that with some of the things you talked about with his play style, and he's kind of playing point guard, but he's not really a point guard. Do point guards even exist in the NBA anymore? Is that an outdated concept?
I don't know. I kind of think point guards are pretty important right now.
But there's also this idea of just the lead initiator. And if Anthony Edwards is on the court, yes, maybe Mike Conley or some player like that still has a role. But I think conceptually we want to run more stuff through Anthony Edwards because he can create more pressure and put more pressure on the defense. So it's like you just get rid of the Mike Conley archetype unless you have another really good guard like an Austin Reeves or somebody like that on the team. And so then Anthony Edwards is playing this position. And all of this is to say, when I think some of your weaknesses are your decision making or your shot selection, he's had some nice improvements. Like, he's a really good player. I thought about him for number 3, and I think that was the reason why you wanted to pass me that pick.
Yes.
But I'm also just not completely sure on what to do with this player archetype anymore at this point in time. Does that make sense?
100%. Can I push back a little bit on the point guard thing?
Sure. Yeah.
I think especially now, I feel like I've seen some numbers jumping around about how much full court pressure is up, like sending maybe one defender or sending a couple of defenders. And if you have a lead initiator like Anthony Edwards, you don't want him expending all of his energy dribbling the ball the first 60 feet of the basketball court, right? Like, you don't want Anthony Edwards to have to deal with Alex Caruso for 60 feet every possession. That's just going to drain you when you actually get to the basket. So I think that's where it's really important to have somebody that's just like, yeah, send pressure at me. I'm just going to handle the ball and get it up here. And, we'll go from there. I don't know how valuable that is in a plus minus sense, just because in terms of we haven't seen this much ball and ball pressure basically ever. But from what I watch, I'm like, man, I would not want my best player having to deal with that every single possession.
Well, I'm playing around on Thinking Basketball right now for our subscribers, patreon.com/Thinking Basketball. We have this stat board, and I'm playing with this fun new feature we have, Cody, where I can combine the seasons and look at all our data across multiple seasons. And I'm like, well, if I combine 2026, 2025, and 2024, what do I get for Anthony Edwards? The Timberwolves are +6 per 100 possessions when he's on the court. Okay, that's solid. That's good. It's good. It's in the 79th percentile. And what are they when he goes to the bench in the last 3 years?
I actually kind of pulled some similar numbers. If I remember, it might not even be a full point shift.
Why are you doing this, Cody? Why are you accessing my notes? They're +5.
Okay.
They're like that is phenomenal if we were to look at this through the lens of a traditional supporting cast for a star. Traditionally, if you're a superstar level player and your team is +5 with you on the bench, you are winning 60+ games and competing for titles or dynasties. And so it gets a little interesting with Ant, because I don't think anyone's claiming he's a top 4 or 5 player in the league, but he is very good. We are talking about an all-star. Trying to figure out where that is not trivial. So I'm glad you took him 4. I'm happy for you that you took him 4th here.
And this is the whole thing with the warts. Like, a lot of they're talking about, like Wemby, like you said, MVP, probably level player, Cade, all NBA, wherever it is that you want to land. But everyone else here, they're going to have warts. They're going to have flaws. It's almost like the second tier of those kinds of guys. So we can definitely go back and forth with all of them. And at the end of the day, you kind of just have to be comfortable with the strengths and weaknesses that you end up with. Like, you're not going to end up with LeBron James or Kevin Durant, where it's like you really have to dive into the film or the numbers to nitpick stuff. Like, stuff is like right there. So at the end of the day, I just kind of went with the playoff success and vaulted him to 4 here.
Well, we always talk about ranges of players, and I think we're in an all-star range now, and we're going to have a couple all-stars and a couple sub-all-stars, and we're only 20 games into the season, and these players are really young, and that's why we do the podcast, Cody, because it's really fun to try to sort of sort out and make sense of what we're seeing. Some of the players at the top are old staples, but in a minute, we're going to get into the really tricky area where someone could be drafted 5 spots differently, and maybe there's not that big of a difference in terms of how we see that player. So I'm number 5, right? It's back to me.
I think you're taking another big man, Ben.
Whoa. Do you have access to my computer right now? This is getting crazy.
You're taking another big man.
There's no way you know who I'm going to pick. I just feel like this would be nuts if you got who I'm going to pick.
Okay. Okay, never mind. You go.
Yes. Does he play where? Yes.
I was going to say, does he play in Oklahoma City?
Oh, what is going on? I would like to take Chet Holmgren with my 5th player here. And since you were so on that, can you tell everyone why you were able to predict that? I thought I was coming out of left field.
I actually thought you were going to take him 3. That's kind of where I thought you were going to go with him. We're talking like the issue with having somebody like Victor Wembanyama is when you had like the Durant finishing second to LeBron thing throughout the 2010s, where you almost feel bad for the guy. It's like, man, any other time, this guy would be getting all kinds of flowers. Like, Chet stretches the court. Chet is an incredible rim protector. Chet can put the ball on the floor and make some passes. And I think that's a point in his game where he's developed quite a bit. The clip of him watching film and just like breaking down step by step, like, oh, I could have made this decision. This guy's gapping too far here. He's got a mind for the game. So
amazing.
Incredible talent, Ben.
Yeah. And going back to the concepts from our summer series, one of the things I love about Chet is this new age, modern, futuristic big man where he's an elite rim protector. We might talk about him as a defensive player of the year candidate if Victor Wembanyama wasn't in the league. And on the other end, Cody, he's got, yes, you talked about passing and attacking closeouts and reading the game and all this rim finishing and all this, but like he is a legit good outside shooter who can stretch the floor, right? We are talking someone pushing 38, 37, 38, 39% on these threes. He's got a great stroke. The numbers always look good. He's got the 7.5-foot wingspan. He's growing into his body. I don't think he's ever going to be the strongest guy, but just learning to get a little more leg strength, core strength, and he embraces the physicality. He's 23 and a half years old or so right now as of recording. I just think he's such a great piece on high-level playoff teams, just fits in so many places. And yes, like I said, I think there's other players you could consider here, but he's the one I'm most comfortable with.
What do you think right now? Like, does he have a clear weakness to his game that when you watch the Thunder and you're watching Chet, you're like, man, I really wish you could shore this up because he would just be unstoppable?
I don't know if I feel like he has a weakness. It's just one of those things where, like you watch a certain player, you don't go, if he was 8 inches taller, he'd be awesome. And it's the same thing with Chet. Like if Chet was just faster, like if Chet moved like Victor, if Chet moved like, who's that guy you like? Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, that would just be completely unfair. So I don't know if there's any weaknesses that jump out right now. His maturity and progression as a player is really, really been strong to watch, I think, in the last few years.
And to your point about his strength, I wonder if it's even worth Chet's time to bulk up that much, right? Like he's playing very well. Clearly his play style works. Clearly it works in the playoffs, right? We've seen guys like Kevin Durant stayed skinny his whole career. Kevin Garnett stayed skinny his whole career. So I'm sure there are other Kevins that stayed skinny their whole career and were successful. But sure, you can add some strength and some weight, but I'd be concerned to add too much because like the limberness and just like the bendiness of his stature seems to be a key part of how he plays basketball.
Kevin Love got skinny.
Kevin Love got skinny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We had skinny Kevin Love phase there for a while.
I don't have Kevin Duckworth opinions off the top of my head, but I'm sure someone out there does.
All right. I think it's your pick.
I realized that I forgot to add somebody.
Again. Wow.
Because he has only played 7 games.
Does he play for Oklahoma City?
He does play for Oklahoma City. And so now I'm like thinking last minute here. I'm like, okay, do I just kind of judge how excited we were last year? Do I kind of gift that to him? Do I roll with one of these other guys right now? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. Like, I don't care if people are going to complain. I'm going to take Jalen J-Dub Williams here. Just because from what we saw, like, I know the Thunder were extremely dominant without him. Like last year when Shea was on the court without him, they were still like the best team basically ever. But the defense, like that's the thing that always stands out to me is a lot of these forwards that we see, he's probably the best defensive forward of anyone that we're going to be talking about. Not counting like a big forward. We're talking about like the small forward, power forward sort of category. He's the strongest defender of all of them. And, I've talked about and been concerned about some of the offensive warts that popped up a little bit more in the playoffs. But as a second side creator, just a magnificently talented dude that, I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt after winning the championship with like a broken wrist last year.
Yeah, I think the only question mark with J-Dub right now is what's he like this season? Mm-hmm. As you said, he's only played 7 games. He's coming back from a very, very long layoff. And then you're looking at last year and you're like, okay, we're talking about how good are you as an outside shooter? He shot 36% on the year. That's still good, but there's a difference between being a decent 3-point shooter when you play like that and being an absolute flamethrower and assassin. So there are still some question marks that I think haven't been answered in terms of exactly where he should be in this range, but I'm happy you drafted him. I mean, we got our Oklahoma City guys off the board. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's 3 or 4 more Oklahoma City Thunder players to be drafted. How is Oklahoma City this good, Cody? How are they this good?
And they're about to get some more young, talented players in the next couple of years. So this draft will just be like, who are the 25 players under 25 that play for the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Yeah, that will be the future version of this podcast. All right, so Jalen Williams at number 6. I am up at number 7, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to take Franz Wagner.
Yep.
At
I could draft
7.
for you.
Why are you doing what? Do I even need to be here? Here's the thing. Franz Wagner is a really good defender. He's a really good defender. And he's also a really good offensive player. And he's very versatile offensively. And I know you have this thing where you say he can't shoot. And that would be a clear weakness, right? If we talk about a weakness or a wart, that would be a clear weakness. But he's a good enough shooter to be able to shoot on the outside and make some of those shots and not be what we would call a non-shooter in today's game. Teams are not just going to completely ignore him or sag off him. And I love Franz's ability to play on and off ball, different schemes. I think he's a very high IQ player, very physically dominant player. I think you can put him at the championship level of basketball, and he's still able to do the things that he does on the court because of his strength, balance, tempo, patience, and height. And that means his spins in the lane, his finishes on either hand, the slashing back on pick and roll and using the Gortat screen, all of it, the passing, screening and getting inside and sealing players. That all translates to me to the NBA Finals for Franz Wagner. I just think he's a stud. I think he's an all-star level player basically at this point. It'll be interesting to see how many he can make in his career, knock on wood, if he's healthy. But yeah, I don't have too many reservations about having him in this range.
This is where I would have gone if I didn't go the J-Dub route. I like that you call it the spins in the paint, something that just it just blows me away every time I watch him. He is just massive and he is so long and he knows how to use his body. And it feels like he drives, he does the start and stops, he pivots around, but then he'll kind of pivot towards the basket and reach and he's there. It's like, wait a second, you were like 5 feet away. It's not like he did a step through or anything. He just pivoted and reached and it's like, oh my God, he's already there, right? And he does it in a way that draws a lot of contact, right? And he opens up the paint for a lot of people. I remember, I didn't look it up this season yet, but if I recall last season, even the season before, when he's on the court, especially when he's on the court without Banchero, the Mad, I was going to say the Thunder. We're just talking about the Thunder all day. The Magic just dominate the paint. Like they generate so many points. And I'm not necessarily talking in the way where it's like the way that we talked about it during the summer, but they just assaulted the paint when he was on the court. And it all has to do with just like that patient tempo, the pterodactyl wings, the strength that he brings. He's just a matchup nightmare because you just don't know what kind of guy to put on him. So that's an excellent pick, I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. You are up with the next pick. I believe we are on number 8. We're making headway today.
I think there's a pick I should make, and I'm not going to. I'm leaning towards my heart. We got to start leaning towards the heart.
What's going on? I think you should make. Okay.
This one's really tricky.
Are you? What are you? Yeah. What are you doing? Are you going to come out of left? Are you coming from the top rope right now?
I'm going to the north, Ben.
That's not the top rope. That's not the top rope.
Okay, good. I'm going Scottie Barnes.
Yeah.
With this next pick.
I think that's very reasonable.
Scottie Barnes is, I don't know how much more we need to talk about this guy so that people can just watch him more, but just brilliant is a big word, right? That's a little hyperbole maybe, but he is a cool, funky passer, extremely high level. Like he's not Cade level, but you look at a lot of these other guys on this list, especially the forwards, I think he's probably number 2. Like I would say he's a better passer than Franz. He's a better passer than J-Dub. He's a better passer than Edwards, right? Very gifted in that way. He's audacious, loves the look away, loves a little bit of flair. And then defensively, just extremely flexible, high motor. I love the fact that he can effectively play the 5 spot, like against most units. He's just a funky player, and he unlocks a lot of team building flexibility if he's out there for you.
Lineup versatility right there, Cody, I think is something that I'm valuing a little bit more each year we get into the 2020s and playing the 5, playing the 4, guarding different positions. Clearly the kind of player that can be a high-level team defender in the playoffs and make himself felt as an individual player, individual defender in the playoffs on different types of people that he might need to guard, different types of archetypes that he might need to guard. And did you mention the little spin mid-range, a little of that thrown in there just for some decent offensive floor in the half court? I think that was a good pick right there. He was definitely in this range for me. Yes, you have another thought on Scottie?
I was just going to say the jump shot is still obviously very suspect. Like we talk about Franz having some warts there. I think Scottie's probably a worse. Like I think if you look at the numbers, Scottie might be shooting better than Franz. I don't know why I switched to first names. all of a sudden. But Barnes might be a better percentage-wise shooter than Wagner right now this season. But overall, I think I'd still trust Wagner's shot a little bit more. But it almost doesn't matter because he's more or less a big man compared to some of these forwards. So, yeah.
To me, there were only a few players left in this kind of range we're talking about. So I think Scottie Barnes was a great pick. I thought you might go to the Midwest, which is where I will go, and I'll grab Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers here. And he's an interesting player to me. Great defender, just this archetype that we've talked about over the years so many times, finding the next Kevin Garnett, yada, yada, yada. And he's added the off the dribble power game strength when you clear it out in today's NBA and you have all that space to work with, and he can try to punish a smaller player one-on-one. And he's added some of this stuff. He's a pretty good passer off the dribble for a big man. There's all kinds of things there that you go, yeah, Mobley keeps getting better and better. I don't know, between his shot and the rest of his offensive game, I don't really know how high I can have him right now. Let's put it that way. And I'm not even saying that in a pessimistic sense. I'm saying that in the sense that I don't know. You know, I would love to see him in a playoff situation where I just go like, Cody, this guy has to be a top 15 player in the league. But I'm not quite there yet. There's a little bit of an ambiguity or grayness for me. Does that make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. I think he's a really complicated player. I'm going to ask you a question about him in a second, but a couple of things I was uncovering about him. This was as of a couple of days ago when I was pulling these stats. But so far this season, he has his worst relative true shooting percentage since his rookie year. This is his lowest rim field goal attempts per 100 possessions since his rookie year. He was approaching 10 per 100. This year, it's like 7.5. So it's a couple shots per 100 dip here. It's the only time under 8 since his rookie year. There's a pretty big dip in his true shooting percentage in general, but a big part of it is he has had this massive drop off in his free throw percentage, right? So I think if you were to jump that back up to closer to 70% as opposed to like the low 60s, maybe that would fix it a little bit. But I don't know. There's some concerning signals in that way where I'm like, man, is there a lot of Darius Garland effect that we're missing with Evan Mobley? But then also at the end of the day, he had great on-off signals. This year, again, he has awesome on-off signals. So I'm like, should I ignore some of these numbers? But I just know that from what I've watched, the juice hasn't been as juicy as I wanted offensively. He's added a little bit more off the dribble, but he's still not a dominant player in that respect. So I don't know. I think that's me saying that he makes a lot of sense being drafted number 9.
Well, the Darius Garland thing, I think, is exactly where my mind goes, because it's been a rough year for DG. It's been a rough 2 years with some of the injuries and things like that. But last year, it was in and out of the lineup, and how is he recovering from injury? And it was a bounce back year compared to the year before. This year, he's like back to where he was in 2024, where every time I tune into Cleveland, I'm like, oh, Darius is just he's struggling. Not even like, he's not like a superstar. It's like, nah, he's just struggling. That was a rough turnover. That did not go well. And you take that passing away and that downhill interior layup pressure that he's able to provide when he's going well, and all of a sudden you strip away a bunch of dunks from Evan Mobley. So there goes some rim points, there goes some efficiency, and you're left to do it on your own. That's where it gets a little dicey for me if he's in a different circumstance where he doesn't have a player like that. On the defensive side, over the summer when we looked at all these historical rim protectors and we do our Wemby watch and things like that, Mobley's numbers protecting the rim are kind of underwhelming compared to, I think, his reputation or some of the kinds of plays he can make on tape. And don't get me wrong, he's definitely a very good rim protector, and I love his defensive versatility. But we're in that area where you said it earlier, when you talk about superstars in certain categories, it is important to try to differentiate between like, all right, what is Victor Wembanyama's impact protecting the rim? What is Chet Holmgren's impact? And is Evan Mobley a little bit lower? That range of like, I remember Bam Adebayo was a big talking point a couple years ago when the Heat made the run to the finals, and there was a small chorus of people who were like, Bam should win Defensive Player of the Year. I was like, okay, yeah, just because you're like a versatile defender and a decent rim protector doesn't automatically mean you have the same impact as, say, the abs like Draymond Green or something like that. And that's where my mind is a little right now with Evan Mobley, where I can't fully figure out how valuable some of these skills, like he's very clearly very good, but if he were clearly awesome in these areas historically, I would have him 3rd or 5th on this list, or he would have already been drafted basically. This isn't a list. This is a draft.
How would you compare? I don't know if you can do this right now off the top of your head. Who do you think has more of an impact defensively right now? Chet Holmgren or Evan Mobley?
I think it's Chet for me right now.
Ooh.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the degree, like what is the actual degree of that? That's where it gets a little sticky for me. But yeah, if I'm forced to pick right now, what I see, I think there's some data to support this as well, but just what I see on the court, I like what Chet is doing. Chet, like if Victor weren't around, man, Chet does some crazy stuff. He does some really crazy stuff. Now he's in an awesome ecosystem where you got a bunch of small guys, bunch of small bees swarming the nest toward him and things like that. But yeah, I feel like it's you. Would you disagree? Would you say it's Evan?
I would have to do
We're just doing first names for the rest of the show.
I would have to do a deeper study on that one before I make a call. But I buy it. I really do. But I also know Evan Mobley is a pretty spectacular defender, so it's probably pretty close at the end of the day.
Yep. I like that. All right, we are on pick number 10, and it is back to you. And I know who you're going to pick.
Yeah, I think you do. Mr. Jalen Johnson over in Atlanta just has to go here. Just has to go. And we've seen some great improvement. I think even last year we talked about him, and we were very excited about Jalen Johnson at the beginning of last year. Then he was injured and out for a big stretch of time, and he came back, and he seems better, Ben. Like the shot is so much more dialed in. The creation, like Trae Young's out, and he's like, hey, let's play this weird, scattered offense, and I'm just going to make great passing reads, and it's all going to kind of work. It's at least going to look pretty, and I'm going to be very talented and things like that. But here's another big body that, has some defensive juice. I don't know how much of an impact defender he is, but he's at least big enough. He's active in passive lanes. He can make some blocks. He can get out in transition. He's just kind of a jack of all trades sort of forward. And now with the jump shot seeming to be pretty real, he's just one of these guys where like you look at the forward and you're like, that dude doesn't have a ton of weaknesses. And that's extremely valuable to have on a team.
He's a Jalen now, Cody. Yeah, he's officially a Jalen. Yeah. And he has some Jalen-esque impact. I think that's what's happening. We talked about it with Jalen Williams. We've talked about it with Jaylen Brown. You throw these kinds of players in the playoffs, not quite exactly sure what the impact numbers are going to say. And at the end of the day, if you put them on every team, can they be an all defensive player and, contend for defensive awards and things like that? I don't know. But I know when I watch that guy play, he's good. And you put him in the playoffs and he'll be pretty good defensively at the worst. I think that's the way I would describe it. And then you add some of the stuff offensively. He reminds me of one of these guys from the 90s, like Stacey Augmon, or just play. I'm trying to think of other Hawks probably subconsciously, but just one of these maybe Mookie Blaylock, where they're good at a lot of little different things, but without having a huge signal. I think you've compared him to Sean Marion before. Is that right?
Jalen Johnson?
Yeah.
I think when I'm thinking about a comparison, he's kind of in the Gordon Hayward stretch for me, right? Like I feel like this do-it-all kind of forward that's multi-talented, can stretch it out a little bit of defensive juice, athletic at like 6'8" or something like that. And that's where my mind immediately goes with him.
I guess I'm just trying to say, if you have a player that feels like they have a bunch of brown belts, a bunch of B+ skill, they're very versatile. It's sometimes hard to figure out like what does that entire dish look like when you put it all together. So yeah, I figured he has to go right about here. He's playing great, added that little mid-range, really makes good decisions with the ball. And I think that's the underrated element about his versatility. He makes really good decisions with the ball. He can cut, finish with his size, rebound, pass, handle, play a little pick and roll, get out in transition, et cetera, et cetera. It's good stuff.
I think maybe I overrate it. This might be like I don't know if bias is the right word here. People love the word. It might be my bias here. I really like the brown belt types of players. Like I like it when I look at a player and can't immediately be like, oh, this is your weakness. This is how another team would pick on you. Because we get into a playoff series and you're right. I'm like, it's just a sturdy forward. He's going to go out there and do his forward things on both offense and defense. And I'm not really sure how he would be really picked on. So I would probably skew towards a guy like Jalen Johnson versus somebody who's like clearly an offensive player, but you're like, man, you run that guy through a bunch of pick and rolls and I just don't know what they're going to do. So, yeah, I guess that lands you 10 here on the list.
I think things are going to get a little crazy. So before we get there, before we get into the craziness and the murkier areas of players, let's just recap. I have Victor Wembanyama, Alperen Sengun, Chet Holmgren, Franz Wagner, and Evan Mobley. You cannot score on my team. It's just impossible to get near the basket. We are going to play a formation defense where we make a wall and we connect our arms. No, you can't connect your arms because you're not allowed to have arms in the NBA anymore. That's a foul if you have arms. Anyway, that's my team. Cody, your team is Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Williams, Scottie Barnes. I think you're starting Jalen Johnson at center. You're getting put in the basket every time.
I'm starting Scottie Barnes at center, and we're running the weirdest, funkiest lineup ever. You're getting Eric Spoelstra in there, and it's just like, let's see what you can cook up in the kitchen, brother.
I'm stalling so badly.
This is a really tough one. I think this pick right here is by far the most difficult pick of the draft so far. And there's a couple elephants in the room, and I don't know what we're gonna do about them, Ben.
I guess I will take one of the elephants.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to talk about it though. I'm gonna take LaMelo Ball at number 11.
Mm-hmm. You always do.
I always do. And here's the thing: I'm taking him here, but I'm also still not giving him the credit for being on the team that needs to unlock his skills entirely. Here's the problem: LaMelo, as goofy as he can get on offense sometimes, he's a really good offensive player. Like at the beginning when you said Cade is clearly the best offensive player, I was like, LaMelo is a player who can drive offense. You might need to contain it and rein it in a little bit more, but he is a very good offensive player.
Yeah.
The defense, however, even with improved effort this year and improved focus, you still have major potential Trae Young level leakage on defense. And putting these things together, we talk about a rookie tax, right? I mean, how old is LaMelo at this point? He's I feel like he's been in this draft for about 8 years.
I agree.
And he's been around for a long time, right? But he's 24 years old. This is his last time in the draft. And I still feel like we are applying the equivalent of a rookie tax to LaMelo Ball. There's like a LaMelo tax right now. I put on a game the other day. I think it was the first play in Toronto to check in on Melo and see how he's doing this year. And the first play of the game, makes a nice decision, pick and roll, gets in front of the defender, does that thing where he hostage dribbles him, gets him on his back. Maybe Cody stuck out his right arm like every other player in the league and just arm barred the man so they couldn't get near the ball because, if you just use your off arm like O.J. Simpson plowing through people with the stiff arm. I guess you can't use O.J. Simpson anymore as a football reference. That was a little too old even for me. Who has a good stiff arm? Somebody has it. LaDainian Tomlinson. Nope, that's like 25 years old. I can't name football players. Stick with me, okay? We're almost done. He gets to the basket and he gets hit on the shot and he makes it. And so objectively, this is like a great basketball play and he should have been fouled. And then on a hot mic, he just stops playing and he just yells, "What the absolute you-know-what," to the ref. And the game stops. There's an issue with the lights. And I was just like, oh, LaMelo's still LaMelo. All right, I've seen enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I kept watching for other players, but
yeah. What you said it perfectly when you said that LaMelo can be a great offensive player. And I don't know if there's a stronger or more accurate usage of the word can be for a player, because at his peak, at his pinnacle, at his most chaotic, I almost want to see Magic, because he does actually have the flair for the dramatic like Magic Johnson does. He does. He doesn't pass like Magic, but he has that same sort of flair where he's just out there. It's like, let's just play with so much joy and set people up and see what weird passes I can do. And when he passes the ball, we're talking about maybe the most, like one of the most dynamics. I shouldn't say the most, one of the most dynamic passers in the league. But this year has been a really down year for him. He's been struggling with injuries. Again, that seems to be an ongoing thing with him. The defense, like you said, you're like, man, he can play in the passing lanes. He's so long, but I'm just glad you picked him.
Okay, but here's the problem. If he's not picked here, then where is he picked?
Yeah, I know. This
is where it just gets really weird. It just feels like sticking him at the back of this. We just talked about Evan and Jalen and Scottie, right, and Chet. We just talked about these guys. It just feels like he should be sort of the guy in that group who's like, hey, LaMelo, if you put it together, you could be up in that group. But I don't know what if we just start picking other types of players. I don't know where I would put LaMelo on this list. I mean, this draft.
I know. I feel the same way about somebody else.
I know you feel the same way about somebody else, but that is a okay. We'll come back to that.
Here's the issue. I think we're starting to leave the category of players where it's like if you take an average team and you put one of these guys on there, they're going to make them, a good amount better. Like if every team just started off average and you were able to take one of these guys, like all of a sudden this team would be competing. And we're going to start transitioning into a bunch of guys where it's like, you actually need a little bit of a better team for this player to be more successful. So then you philosophically have to ask, it's like, how much is the juice worth the squeeze here? Like, how much of a primary do you want to push the boundary before you'd actually rather go with somebody that's going to fit on the higher level team?
That's such a great way to put it, because we've been talking about players who are going to be the first or second best player on a championship team. They're going to be the defensive anchor. They're going to be a primary or secondary offensive threat on a high level offense. Mm-hmm. And now with LaMelo, he is the type of player who could be a primary or secondary high-level threat on a really good offense. And yet we have all the issues that we just talked about. And if you look at the rest of the players that we're going to draft, unless I'm forgetting someone, now we're talking about second and third best players. Now we're talking about guys who are specialists in an area, great role players, Robert Horry all-stars, et cetera, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know. You really stuck me. You really thought about this. That's why you had me draft Victor Wembanyama first. But LaMelo is the sixth man on my team, and we're going to get great production out of him. So it's your pick at number 12.
I'm going to tell you what. This is the first possible reach of the episode. We're going crazy right now. This is it. I just have to make sure I end up with this guy on my team.
This is going to be so funny if it's the player I have number 12 on my board.
I'm going Stephon Castle.
Ooh. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a reach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be a little bit, but he was on my radar at this point. Yeah.
He is so ungodly athletic and strong and just wants to bully himself into you that as a point guard, he's like 6'6". He's like one of these guys who's 6'6" or whatever he's listed at, and he feels bigger. Like he plays like somebody who's like 6'8" or 6'9" or something like that. Right. And it's weird because I feel like there was so much consternation, maybe even from us at the beginning of the year. And obviously, very small sample. We've seen like one game with all these guys together. But you're like, oh, Castle, Fox, Harper. Like, how are you going to get all these like not great spacing guards who like to slash? How's it going to work? It's like, well, they're going to create a lot of space for each other slashing into the paint. And then they're just going to keep slashing into the paint. And even a team like OKC, sure, it was one game, but it's like, wow, we really have to cover a lot of ground to take this. It's like, I think I texted you this, but this squad is giving me a little like 97 Suns vibe where it's like, well, you have Kevin Johnson, then you have a young Jason Kidd, and you have young Steve Nash on the team. And I don't know, is that kind of the situation that we have right now? So I would rather be on the Castle train early and just be so impressed with what he brings defensively, what he brings with his mentality, what he brings with his offensive juice, that, I'm taking him 12.
How did the Suns have 3 Hall of Fame point guards on their team at the same time? That is insane.
Yeah. I would love to go back and like track, like, I don't know if you remember, but I would like to see like how they distributed minutes, what the storylines were like, where people like, wow, they got these superstars on the bench. I just don't know.
I think in Phoenix, they're excited about Nash, but he was just so deep on the depth chart. They did play them all 3 at the same time occasionally, but we would have to go back into the play-by-play and actually figure out what that is. But the Spurs are a squad, man, and they have a lot of guards. And I guess De'Aaron Fox is the Kevin Johnson there in that conversation, because he's like an established veteran and he's not great, but he's been a very good player for a while. And you got these 2 young guys, and Castle was rookie of the year last year. We talked about him right away as the rookie that jumped out to us. And this year he's improved. And then you have Dylan Harper, who is the son of Ron Harper from the legendary Chicago Bulls 1996 to 1998 vintage three-peat. And man, Dylan Harper is really, maybe I shouldn't spoil it. Maybe you're going to take Dylan Harper in a minute too. But I just think offensively with what you're talking about, the playmaking, Cody, the passing decisions. I turned on a game the other day. I feel like you may have seen this game. I think it was against the Pelicans. He literally had 3 straight possessions with 3 different types of awesome passes. One of them was one-handed left off the dribble, skip pass 50 feet into the other corner. The second one was like down under the basket, wrap around the big man for a layup to, who's that tall fella? Luke Cornett. rolling down the lane, and I can't remember it was like 3 in a row. They were all different types of awesome passes. And man, if you get that with his downhill ability, he's an interesting player because the shot is not, he's just not a good shooter right now.
Yeah.
Not a good shooter at all. So what happens when he's off ball? But transition, slashing, athleticism, cutting, they're fun. They're really fun. Have you seen the San Antonio Spurs play?
Oh my God. Yeah. Tuning right in. There's the fourth quarter of the Thunder game with the Spurs. He threw a lob to Wemby that Wemby ended up missing. It was like the closest Wemby's ever been to miss a layup, because I think Wemby didn't realize that Castle was going to throw him so open on the lob where he just like threw it over the defense. And Castle seems to be the guy on the Spurs that understands the weapon that Wemby is and fully takes advantage of it. He's a great, just brilliant lob thrower, I think. And all the things that you talked about just make him, I'm so excited to watch this guy. This is like maybe a top 5 player to watch in the league. And his teammate is also a top 5 player in there.
I'm just on one right now, and since I drafted LaMelo, which honestly is a little bit out over the skis when all things considered, I'm going to take Jalen Suggs with my next pick.
I thought about him. About him.
The reservation for me, honestly, is his health.
Yep.
He just can't stay healthy. He just plays kamikaze basketball. Is it PC to say that? Is it okay to say that? It's been a long, I don't know. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Every time I watch Jalen Suggs play, the magic feel more connected, the energy on defense. He's a great defender. He's all over the place. It just goes back to the football mentality he brings. It goes back to when he was at Gonzaga at high school winning championships. He just is a maniac out there. He impacts the game. His shot is underrated. He adds a little bit of organizing factor on offense for teams. He can push it in transition, and then he's trying to take a charge or block a shot with this incredible chase down play, and he lands and he hurts his hip or his ankle or his wrist or his elbow or his face, and he's out of the game again. And that's my biggest concern. And so again, we're at a level of player that I think is clearly very strong, but also I have some reservations. And I'm trying to get these out of the way. I'm trying to get my picks like this out of the way for you, Cody, so I can fall on the sword for us.
Well, I think that the unspoken thing with Suggs too is, again, the passing vision. I'm pretty sure Suggs was a pretty heralded quarterback in high school, and he passes like it. Like I cannot remember what game it was, but he had one where I think they made the free throw and he ran out of bounds, just like immediately, like full court, full length. I think the guy that ended up catching him might have been Anthony Black.
I think you're talking about a preseason game.
No, this was recent. This was
okay.
Like 3 days ago, right?
All right?
And so that's what I'm saying, is he does this kind of pass quite a bit, and he loves kicking the ball, like Alonzo Ball-esque sort of thing, where he's kicking the ball up all the time and he's just trying to push the tempo in. Even though he's not a great 3-point shooter, like the percentage isn't awesome, it's mediocre, it's a little below average, let's be honest here, he still shoots it extremely confidently in the way that requires people to defend him. So he still provides spacing with the amount that he's able to shoot with his volume. So offensive, like he's known as a defensive guy, offensively he brings a little bit of value, and I think probably just a little bit more than what a traditional person might think.
All right, you are up at number 14, I believe, and I think there's a couple more players here that are going to be picked that are interesting, and then it's just going to get crazy. So we got to get crazy, Cody. Let's get crazy. We got to do this.
I know I'm playing with a guy right now who I'm maybe a little less excited about than a lot of everyone else, but I also just love the dude, and I think he has a very interesting role, and I can see the vision. I'm just going to go Amen Thompson right now.
Okay.
I'm taking Amen Thompson.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that has to be close to chalk. I think people would have Amen even higher. I just have concerns about his offense and his non-shootingness ability. But obviously all the other stuff we've talked about over the years, the defense and the offensive rebounding and the slashing and the Giannis style offensive possessions, I think he's already a very good player.
I know that's the thing. It's like, obviously offensively, a negative. I wonder if I would call him a negative offensively. He's probably a negative offensively. What do you think?
I think he's a negative offensively, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think where I'm a little bit lower on him than consensus is the on-ball creation, right? I don't necessarily love the point guard skills where it's like, I'm going to create, set up my teammates and things like that. He's got this great touch with the floater and he can get to the basket and finish, but the downhill threat where he sets up his other teammates just doesn't blow me away. But like you said, all of the other things are just spectacular. So I'm like, you could find a role somewhere. If you ended up on OKC, like you could pull off the Alex Caruso thing. So I don't know. Thompson ends up here for me.
This is another tough one now at this point in time. This group of players that we just talked about and the elements that they bring to a team. And now I'm starting to feel like I want these supercharged role players.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know if this is crazy for you, Cody. I'm going to stay in Houston and take Jabari Smith.
Yes, Benjamin. I love this pick.
Thank you for affirming my. I just feel like there's so many teams that could use. I think Orlando could use a player like this, where you are better off having a really, really, really strong, versatile defender who can play 3, 4, or 5 positions, knock down shots at a high level under duress at volume, and then make all the extra little finishing plays without getting in anyone's way. Just that addition by subtraction. Just do less. It's like Paul Rudd in what is that? Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Just do less. Right there. That's Jabari Smith.
Yeah. When you started saying his name, like, man, I probably screwed up not even taking him above Thompson. Because again, he's one of these guys that he's going to square up. He's going to hit 36% of his shots. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm trying to think if I'm wrong on this. I think I wrote this down. He's literally a metronome when it comes to his 3-point shot. I think his 3-point percentage the last 3 seasons has been within 1 percentage point. Right, every year just comes in and clocks 36%. And he's shooting like 8 per 100 possessions or something like that. So it's not like he's a super high volume guy. He's not a Rashard Lewis where he's going to break the volume and efficiency at that position, but he's got the same kind of length. He's probably more interesting defensively. He doesn't do too much creation, but I've dug the like getting into the paint and jumper he has, which adds another layer to his offensive game. And yeah, defensively, not a crazy needle mover, but he's enormous, so he can do a few different things.
Don't look now, Cody, but he has hit 2 assists per game for the first time in his career this year. Yeah, stand back. It's getting saucy. All right, number 16 is back to you, and I just think we're just this whole range of players is just, what do you do? Very interesting.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do no, I'm not going to do what you think. I'm going to do something else. Have we taken a rookie yet?
Oh, you are going to do it.
I'm taking a rookie right now.
You are going to take a rookie, and I have a sick, twisted feeling inside of me that you're not going to take the rookie everyone thinks you're going to take.
I'm taking Con Knippel.
Yes.
I'm taking Con Knippel there.
Cody, we should stop the podcast. Tell everybody about Con Knippel. They already know. Everyone already knows.
I mean,
first of all, he plays for the Charlotte Hornets, in case you're wondering who he is.
He plays so much older than he is right now. I think he's a 20-year-old, right? But his ability to move off ball, to take a bunch of different kinds of 3-point shots, like it's not like he's flanked by a bunch of offensive talent where he's getting a bunch of good looks all the time, but he creates a lot of these good looks through his movement, through using screens, knocking down like 40+% from 3. A stout defender. I think he's one of these guys that's like 6'6", so you can deploy him in a lot of different places. And I know I'm a rookie tax guy, but I'm watching this guy play, and I'm like, man, I want you on a good playoff team right now because I think you can contribute at a pretty high level.
Yep. It feels like a reach in one sense, but also this is the idea of Con Knippel when I watch him play. You just laid it all out. He doesn't seem like a negative defender, uses his body and physicality well, makes great decisions with the ball, already has good vision, is a movement shooter, plays off of 2 feet incredibly well in the paint, like a veteran, like a little Jalen Brunson-y, like, let me get to my hop step and I'll rise up over you or spin and make a decision. That package, that's a really good player right now. So I don't know. I didn't have him this high on my draft board, but I thought he was going to get picked. And thus I think this is a lot of fun.
I think if he was doing exactly what he's doing right now, but it was like year 3, I'd be a lot more confident in this. I feel a little icky with myself picking a rookie this high based on this. But again, just looking at the board, I'm like, man, he just kind of has the whole package compared to some of them. And honestly, if he was a 3rd-year player, I may have taken him a couple spots even higher than this.
Okay. Number 17.
Yeah.
Boy, this category of player is in my head. especially with the draft concept, it's kind of like who's gonna give me in most scenarios the best chance to win in a playoff setting tomorrow or in a couple months or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where my headspace is at. And if that's the case, Cody, if that's the case, I think I'm gonna take Cason Wallace.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't even need we just saw it. We just saw it. And in theory, he's a little bit better. He's a year older. I wonder if he can get to that, like, or he already is at that, like, am I the best defensive guard in the league? Was it the it was the quarterfinal game. The quarterfinal game against Phoenix in the NBA Cup, the first play of the game, whoever was handling for the Suns, I feel like Booker didn't play in that game, if I'm remembering correctly. So it was like Colin Gillespie or somebody like that, right? Somebody for the Suns, the upstart, spunky, exciting Suns, has the ball. They're bringing it up in the front court. And this dude just picks him like peak Kawhi Leonard. Like he just reaches in and just rips the ball away and goes down and gets a layup. And I'm like, oh, that's horrifyingly frightening. And I just feel like we already saw him do it at a championship level in the playoffs last year. So are there a ton of weaknesses? Can he be your second or third best offensive player? Absolutely not. He is, technically a quote unquote negative, but he's in that like Alex Caruso vein of archetype. And I love that archetype.
I'm coming to the conclusion that if you're building a team, you need to have a spot for somebody like Cason Wallace, right? And we've texted about this a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about it to some degree, but like the Robert Horry all-stars sort of thing. Like who's going to be the guy out there that's going to kind of do all the dirty work, maybe knock down some threes, maybe not even an efficient scorer, but is going to be just a monster defender and is going to make a bunch of little thing king types of plays, right? And he has absolutely stamped his papers to run for first team all Robert Horry all-stars of the 2020s right now. Like you said, Alex Caruso is absolutely right there with him. Obviously, if we go back a decade, Danny Green is in this vein. We love these kinds of players. They're extraordinarily valuable. I at least marked him to be in my top 22. So I don't know if I would have taken him here, but he was going to be picked by me in these top 25 if you didn't take him.
Okay. Well, now I'm going to pass it back to you. And I have a feeling there's another defensive player you're going to take here as well.
I don't. Are
you going offense?
I'm just doing it.
Yes.
I'm sick of this.
Let's do it.
We need to have this. I'm taking Paolo Banchero.
Yes. Okay. So I think this is actually, for me, the right space to kind of figure out where Paolo Banchero would go. I have a tremendous amount of reservations about getting him to play this way, but also what does he look like if he plays in a less centralized, lower usage kind of role. The thing I said about someone like Jabari Smith earlier, I just think someone like Jabari Smith is a way better defender than Paolo Banchero. So when you slot someone into that role and they're your second or third or fourth best offensive player, that is a big deal for me, just because the differences among offensive players in that range is not enormous. It's not that LaMelo Ball, Trae Young trade-off we were talking about earlier. So I'm interested in your thoughts, because I think this is a reasonable place to get him in to this kind of draft exercise, but he's also very hard to get into this kind of draft exercise.
I know this is the issue. He's the sticking point every year, and he's almost the reason I don't want to do the podcast, because I almost don't want to have the conversation. I'm going to start in the spreadsheets for a second, because this is year 4 for him in the league. We are now 4 straight years where the team is just better when he's not on the court. And this is actually the first year when they have a positive net rating when he's on the court. Like, it's the first time in his career the team has a positive net rating when he's on the court, right? And I just can't think of any other like player who's going to take you as a star level player that has that kind of an impact signal. Like, there's just, I don't know. I would love for somebody to be able to show me that kind of thing.
But yeah, he's not a star. He's not a star.
But I think that's what people think.
Well, right? That's what I think what is so uniquely challenging and to some degree polarizing about evaluating Paolo is that he's always tried to play like a star. And when you're a rookie like Cooper Flagg and you play on a bad team, that's okay, because it's developmental reps. When you get to the second year, you start to say, okay, what's happening here? What else is happening on who's this Franz guy? Who's Suggs? Why are they running this? When you get to your third or your fourth year, that's when you're trying to figure out, like, okay, is there a middle ground somewhere? Because I think the biggest understated element with Paolo, who has all these tantalizing talents to people with his size, he's just an enormous dude, right? He can pass, he can handle the ball. is he's not a good shooter.
Yeah.
And he takes a lot of outside shots. And you might say, well, okay, I can get a coach or a system where I can just get him to the basket more. He's not that fast getting to the basket. So the duality of those two things is not easy for me to solve. And I definitely like the moments where he's playing a little less primacy, screening and rolling to the basket, right? He can get you a bucket and a fix, but I don't exactly know how good that player is. That's what makes it so hard.
I know. Like I watch every year and I kind of just want to see the transition to being Blake Griffin. Like, to me, that's where I want this to end up. And we're not getting closer to that. We keep sticking with the eye of the ball. I'm going to be in the mid-range. I guess I'm going to take a couple more mid-range jumpers than I probably should, just because I'm the one creating. But I think just in general, I can't really point to a number for this. The decision-making is just not improving. Like, year after year, I'm not seeing a jump in manipulating defenses or choosing the right moment or like any kind of discernment on the offensive end of the court. And that is extremely troubling to me, especially when you are on a team that, you know, people are flirting with, oh, could they sneak into the finals this year? And if he was like in the Franz category of like, oh, should we draft him top 6 in this? All of a sudden, that's a much more interesting conversation, but he's not. And, you know, if they peter out in the Eastern Conference again like that, I think that's still solid proof that that's continuing to happen with him.
Just to be clear, Blake Griffin was a great player and a very dynamic offensive.
Oh, he was awesome. Yeah.
Forward. Yes. I just want to get that in case anyone is not quite familiar with the reference you were making there. Like there is a combination with Blake of playmaking, decision-making, and downhill pressure. I think that's what you were alluding to without being an elite big man defender.
I think it's kind of having a similar body type, just being strong, can handle, but ultimately probably working best when you're next to somebody that's going to handle like in the pick and roll or create a bunch more and finish strongly that way. So there, we got the conversation out of the way, Ben.
Okay, I'm not convinced who I should take next. So just in the interest of time, I really want to take a rookie. Let's see. I'm gonna let one. Okay, I'm just gonna let it fly. I'm not happy with any of these players, Cody, which means I should probably take like the 31st player I wrote down and just be true to my heart. But I think if I had to draft the best player left on my board, I guess it would be Dyson Daniels.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're getting there. You're getting a little playmaking. You're getting a really good defender. It's similar in concept to Cason Wallace. I don't know if he's quite the same shooter, but yeah, I think he's a strong player still.
I mean, this is a guy. He's knocking down a couple of threes. Maybe it's just the most recent games I've watched. Like, I don't know if it's a trend that's going on. But like,
we're just going by eye test.
Yeah, just strict eye test at this
feels
point.
Good. The shot feels good.
It's like, I don't know if it feels good. It just went in. So I'm like, oh, cool. Dyson Daniels knocked down another one. But, you know, a wily defender that plays the passing lanes really well. I think a pretty solid passer.
You know what? Can I undo my pick?
Sure.
You've convinced me that Dyson Daniels can't shoot. If I'm going to take a player that can't shoot, I'm going to take another player that can't shoot. I'm going to take Ausar Thompson.
Ooh, okay.
This way I have a Thompson twin on my team to cancel out your Thompson twin. So I'm flipping it. I'm taking Ausar Thompson over Dyson Daniels.
It's like an algebra equation. I like this. I like Ausar Thompson. I think he's got even a little less creation juice than his brother over in Houston.
Yes, but is he a better offensive rebounder? Are they the same defender? Who knows? We'll never find out. We need 10 years of data to solve this problem.
But ultimately, they're close enough, and he does all the intangible things that's like, sure, great. He can be 19 in a couple spots behind his brother.
Cody, we are at the 20th pick, and this is where it always goes completely off the rails in the last few minutes of the show. There's no right answers. There's definitely all wrong answers, according to the internet. But that's okay. The internet's not real anymore. The internet's just a bunch of bots that infects people with ideas that are antithetical to society and living a happy, well-adjusted life. So
that's the conversation you want to start an hour and 15 minutes in.
I'm just saying it's your pick.
That's 20. Where we're going on this one. What was I even going to say? I was going to draft somebody. I think what's really weird about this point is a lot of these guys are so close in valuations, right? So close. Like, it depends so much on the context and so much on your beliefs about basketball and things like that, that I just don't. If you're sitting here and you're like, there's objectively a right 20th pick, you're just wrong. Yeah, this is not how basketball works, right?
If you're being dogmatic, then that is completely, absolutely the dumbest wrong thing you could possibly do.
100%. So with that all said, I'm taking Jalen Duren, number 20.
I thought you were going to take a rookie.
No.
All right, fine. Jalen Duren.
Yeah,
yes.
Sturdy.
Very good pick. Very good pick.
Sturdy big man. He's not going to be the big old hub for you where he can pass the ball like crazy. He's not the Alperen Sengun type of passer. But he can create his own shot off the dribble. He can drive in. I think I saw, what was the stat? I forgot. An enormous percentage of his shots are like within 10 feet. So he doesn't really stretch the floor either. But he's just like kind of a traditional big man with a little bit more of the driving juice. And I don't know. I think those are always in style, Ben.
I'm going to ask you a question. First of all, I'm so disappointed. Someone in the audience is yelling. I think they're chanting, Ugo, Ugo. I think they're disappointed you did not take Ugo Gonzalez. How have there been no Celtics taken? Someone's going to have to take a Celtic player to fix this. I have a question for you.
Please.
Is Josh Giddey good at playoff basketball?
He's at least on my list.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if we didn't have to worry about the playoffs and we just said, hey, someone who's good on a decent team in the regular season, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to take Josh Giddey right now. But he is a very strange archetype in the year 2026, is he not? He doesn't have like a lot of downhill rim pressure. He's a good passer. He doesn't really shoot. He kind of needs the ball to do his thing. Are you going to get ignored in the playoffs? I mean, we've seen it before, but statistically, he's a better okay shooter. Would he not get ignored in the playoffs anymore? What about defense? Can he hold up on defense? These are all things swirling through my head where it's like, if this was just a regular season list or under different circumstances, I'd be like, yeah, Josh Giddey's easy. We actually could have picked him a couple picks ago. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. He's a very unique player.
In his last 93 games, so this includes last season as well, he's shooting 38% on like 6 attempts per 100 possessions. So like that's an okay percentage, but I wouldn't call that volume by any means. I actually don't know where the average player is, but that feels pretty average for a player that's going to shoot like that. So I feel like that's a guy that's going to be asked to shoot like 10 or 12 threes a game in the playoffs and be like, sure, let's see if you can actually keep this up with volume. I really love everything you said because I think he's a very interesting player. Defensively, I don't see the vision quite as much, and he does need the ball, but I don't know. Maybe he could play like a weird sixth man kind of role on a playoff team.
I don't know. Yeah, a weird 6-man role where you would want him at this point, I think, to be like your 4th best player or something coming off the bench, but there's some redundancy with the starting lineups. Yeah.
If you picked him here, I wouldn't say you're wrong. And in fact, I might even take him pretty close to here.
I think the thing is, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I feel like Josh Giddey is the best he is to me the best regular season player left on this board in this exercise. But also, I'm really in my head about like, if I'm building championship teams and championship players, is he going to be is he going to be my 4th or 5th or even 6th best player on that team? I don't know. I really don't. I also have no one else.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's left to pick? Who's the option?
I don't know who he's competing with here. I mean, you could get a 3-and-D player like Christian Brown. Mm-hmm. He's available. You could get one of the Celtics. You could get a Jordan Walsh.
I know.
You could get a rookie. How many games has Dylan Harper played in the NBA? Can we take Dylan Harper? Can we just get the Spurs? Can we get all Spurs?
Well, I think this was just tricky about these last few spots is you only have a couple picks. Can I throw out another name you didn't say? Now that we're to this point, maybe we help each other out.
Yes, please. Yes.
You didn't say Jaime Jaquez?
Yeah, Jaime Jaquez is pretty good. He feels more like a specialist dude who's going to be on the, it's hard to see him right now. It's like the 3rd or 4th best player on a really, really good team. That's, I think, where I'm at with him. But yes, I think we're in that range where he's here as well. I mean, you could almost say the same thing about someone like AJ Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like if AJ Mitchell had opportunity, maybe it's just Thunder players and Spurs players from now on. Maybe that's just the way to do this.
I know he's not necessarily an archetype that we traditionally are like in love with, but Benny Mathurin played some minutes for a team that went to the finals.
How old is Ben Mathurin?
He's like 23.
I like microwave scorers on good teams.
Okay.
And he's physical and he's tough. And has he played this year? Timeout. How many games has Ben Mathurin played this? Does he even qualify for this? Can you qualify, Cody?
I don't know. I checked in. I saw him play the other day. He's played 15 games.
Oh, okay. All right.
Shooting 40% on, holy cow, how many threes is this kid playing? He's shooting 9 3-point attempts per 100 possessions, 41% from three.
I would like to trade my pick. Can I trade my pick?
For what? What are we trading for?
I don't know. What are my options? I have Wemby. I guess I'll. You know what? Let's get crazy. I'm going to take Ben Mathurin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just about to do it if you didn't.
Yeah. I'm going to take Ben Mathurin. That's a great call, Cody. You've rescued me from the abyss. I'll take Ben Mathurin. I have another player that I could take as well in that vein.
Microwave scores. Have we ever done a pod on the best microwave scorers?
No, but we should.
Who's that most famous? I'm guessing like Vinnie Johnson.
Well,
probably.
He was literally nicknamed the microwave. Yeah. I think of Andrew Toney, the Boston Strangler. I think of Ben Gordon, one of your favorite players. I think of guys like that who can come in and just absolutely detonate off the bench.
They are very exciting players. And Mathurin brought a little bit of that. I don't know what his high was in the playoffs last year, but I feel like there was at least one game where I was like, oh my God, like this guy. Maybe it was against the Cavs. I don't know. It's probably not the time to just reminisce on the playoffs.
No, if I'm going to filibuster, it's about the conversation going on in the audience right now. Someone thinks we hate Tyrese Maxey and haven't drafted him. As if I wouldn't have had Tyrese Maxey second on this list.
Yeah, I was going to say he would have been number 2, like with a bullet here for sure. All right, so I have the 22nd pick, which means I only have like 2 picks left. So I gotta really make use of these, Ben. I'm eyeing a couple of rookies that I'm trying to figure out if I want to throw it out there. I'm eyeing some guys that I'm like, man, in spot minutes, I can throw this guy out here.
Do it.
I'm also looking at Josh Giddey that we just talked about. And
did I force you to? Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. How have you not taken Tari Eason? He feels like a Cody pick.
That's a great question. It's just I don't know. I haven't felt it.
Okay, understood.
I think I'm closer to picking Jordan Walsh than picking him right now. I'm not going to do it. I said I'm closer to doing it.
Oh.
There's no way. Okay, I'm doing this right now. This is okay. Derek Queen.
No,
we're going Derek Queen. Absolutely.
Wow. Mm-hmm. We started with Derek Queen and we're finishing. Wow. Sell me on Derek Queen being better than Dylan Harper right now.
Weirdness with the center position as like an odd offensive punch just gives your offense like a new flavor, right? Like you can have the regular punch, but if someone has a new punch bowl with some other flavor, it just adds a little bit more to the party. And he's just their point guard, right? He's like a rookie.
Yes.
Zion's out there, and they're like, Derek Queen, like, let's see what you got. And I was watching a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this feels like a lot of Rondo assists. Like, you got 7 assists in this one game. I think it's against the Mavericks. And in the first quarter against the Mavericks. But then he has one, he's like in transition. There's a couple of guys closing in on him. He throws a behind the back layup pass between a couple of defenders. He's got like the weird, like, oh, there's no pass here. I'm going to try like a 12-foot floater and bury it. He's just weird enough and dynamic enough as a passer and a big man that I'm intrigued enough.
You're not at all worried about his defense.
I'm totally worried about his defense.
No, I just don't think it's tenable. I don't think it's tenable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't see it. I don't see it. So you drafted him though.
I'm taking Derek Queen here.
It's on the board. You're sticking to it. Derek Queen is going on the board. I almost feel like I should take Dylan Harper just to counterbalance the rookie force of, because to me, like Cooper Flagg is great, but he's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just still like, he could be super high in this draft next year, but I just don't trust it right now. But when I watch Dylan Harper, when you watch Dylan Harper play, you're like, that dude's been in the league for 12 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference to me. I think the fascination with someone like Dylan Harper at this level is that he can play big time basketball in big time situations. We're recording this before the NBA Cup final against the Knicks. I would not be surprised if Dylan Harper has at least one interesting play tonight in the game against the Knicks, southpaw to southpaw. They have a lot of southpaws as well. God, Fox is a southpaw. And man, this is amazing. But all that is to say, who's left on this board? We have Giddey that we've talked about. We have Tari Easton that we've talked about. You already took Con Knipple from me.
We didn't say Shepherd yet. We didn't say Reed Shepherd yet. I don't know how much you're thinking about him at all.
I don't think I can get Reed Shepherd here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another Magic shout out, Anthony Black. Could consider him.
Same, and I'm not quite. Although he's improved in some areas this season.
Ryan Rollins.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old is Ryan Rollins qualify?
Yeah, he's a youngster, I thought.
Man. Yeah, no, he is. He was not on my radar, but that's kind of a deep cut.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Zach Edey is up there.
Okay. Zach Edey is near the top of my board here. He's very close to the top of my board. I am concerned about him defensively in a playoff setting. Like the ceiling of only semi-mobile drop specialists is like first round kind of thing, right? It's like you get later in the playoffs, I'm getting nervous. That's how I feel. So I don't know. Zach Edey was one of the guys on the tip of my tongue here. I could take him. I could take it. You know what? We might not see it come to fruition. I'm going to take a guy whose name ends in EY. I'm going to commit to that. Let's do Josh Giddey.
Oh, okay.
23. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Let's do that.
That's a nice pick. I think we talked about him enough before. Do we need to break him down again?
No, we're good. We got to wrap this up. We got to get out of here.
We did. Okay. So I won't hesitate too much on this, my last pick.
You do not take my player.
I'm going to be honest. Here's the thing. There's earlier in the pod, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I love these brown belt players that have no weaknesses. And then 20 picks later, I'm like, give me the rookie that I don't know if he can defend anything. So yeah, I don't know. We all have multitudes within us.
Yeah, no, you went for it. I thought you would take someone like that with your last pick at 24, but you went for it at 22. You sort of committed yourself to an even crazier player at number 24. So I'm ready. Let's do it.
I'm just going Jaime Jaquez.
Okay.
At 24. I think he's playing well enough this year in a strange enough system that I feel like he could find a role. Like the isolation skill that he has, where he's just getting by people and kind of spinning around the paint and scoring, and his size, it's enough to intrigue me enough that I'd be like, yeah, come aboard to our playoff team.
I'm gonna take Jordan Walsh 25th.
Yes, that's the answer.
Just gonna crown it right there.
I'm so glad you did it. I was gonna say I think we need to Walsh it with a 25th. Oh,
there's a certain level of posterity. That's the whole reason we do this ridiculous podcast every year, is just to try to mark these moments in time. And it's one of those things where we talk through a bunch of other players that could absolutely be here under absolutely different circumstances. But again, high level defender who understands the game and just plays his role incredibly well. I don't know how to get away from that when there are captivating elements that we've talked about with Jordan Walsh before. So he's my flyer at 25. Let's recap the draft. Victor Wembanyama stunningly went first. Cade Cunningham second. Alperen Sengun third. Anthony Edwards fourth. Cody, by the way, gave me the first pick. So I'm picking on the odds. He's picking on the evens. I picked Chet Holmgren fifth. Jalen Williams, 6th, Franz Wagner, 7th, Scottie Barnes, 8th, Evan Mobley, 9th, Jalen Johnson, 10th, LaMelo Ball, 11th, Stephon Castle, 12th, Jalen Suggs, 13th, Men Thompson, number 14, another Rocket at number 15, Jabari Smith, Con Knipple, first rookie at 16, Cason Wallace, 17, Paolo Banchero goes 18, Asar Thompson, 19, Jalen Duren, a lot of Jalen's in this draft, number 20, Ben Mathurin, 21, Derek Queen from left field, 22, Cody, I love it, number 23, Josh Giddey, Jaime Jaquez, 24th, and Jordan Walsh, 25th. That's our 25 for under 25 draft. To support this show, patreon.com/thinkingbasketball. That's the best way to do it. You can get some of those stats on our stats board for players that we were talking about earlier. We've got this fun multi-year feature where you can combine all the stats over multiple seasons. And of course, if you want, our videos are available there, patreon.com/thinkingbasketball for our top tier members. And if you just want the videos, you can get them as a YouTube member as well. It's like a light. If you don't like the data, if you don't like the community, if you don't like all that other stuff, you can just get it at YouTube. Cody, how did it go this year?
This went really well. This was awesome. I think maybe if we'd run it back with that Derek Queen pick, I might take Zach Edey instead. But I'm not actually going to ask for a switch. But if you're mad about the Derek Queen pick, imagine that I picked Zach Edey, and that's also a possibility that I would accept.
Do you want me to edit Zach Edey into the show notes? So if someone takes this and posts it somewhere else, then it will be Queen parentheses Zach Edey.
So I think honestly, like logically, the more I'm thinking about it, it should be Zach Edey there. But I'm going to leave it here because Derek Queen is cool enough that I just want to highlight that.
I thought you were going to take Zach Edey. I mean, there's just very interesting question to be had about these kinds of, like we talked about it with Josh Giddey, about players who kind of exist in this space of like, is there a big enough weakness to cause problems in the playoffs that don't allow us to see the value that they impart in these regular season situations for mediocre or weaker teams? I think that's a really fascinating question that I don't always know how to answer. I feel like it's a case by case basis, but part of what makes this exercise so fun is that you just have young players that are emerging in talent and you're trying to figure out like, I don't know. I should know the answer to this in a year or two, but maybe we never will.
And honestly, I'm looking at the list now and I feel a lot better than I maybe expected it to go. Like I'm looking at the list and I don't see anyone that's really popping out to me that's like, wow, I can't believe we reached there. This felt more on the rails than it has. And I know someone in the comments was shouting out, like, take a Grizzlies player. Listen, Aldama aged out. He wasn't available. It just couldn't swing it this time, everyone.
Yeah, I think last year Cody took Santi Aldama like 12th or something. Almost fell off my chair. No, this did feel, ironically, this felt more under control than any other year we've done this. But I feel like this is also the first year where you and I were like, forget it. We're just going right from the heartstrings every single pick.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of how you have to go. Like, I don't want to tell everybody that you should just go from your heart and just like make a decision, because sometimes your heart leads you to trading Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. And I just can't support that kind of thing all the time. So I don't know, maybe you have to have some kind of judgment. You have to have Anubis come in and judge that heart of yours before, who knows? It's all a crapshoot, Ben.
We got to get out of here. Thanks for listening all the way through on this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, that you're having a great day.